best way to do business in dynamics. And if you understand uncertainty, if you can, not everybody can, if you can accept, embrace uncertainty, and by the way, this is what underlines my quantum business thinking methodology, which I built and help startups. They use this methodology to grow very quickly, to make a quantum leap. I call it quantum business thinking. So, but I start with embracing uncertainty, like in quantum physics, and my skills is in quantum physics,
Right.
and I understand uncertainty. I understood that chaos. This is the best thing for the business, because what businessman is doing usually, he take the chaos and make order from the chaos.
Okay.
And this is so economic crisis is the best time to do it, and this is what I actually explored.
Yeah. I was one told that the best businesses are the one that solve problems. So as you mentioned that, during the crisis, obviously there is a problem. So now there's a lot of opportunity for business in crisis because you are trying to find something to be able to solve problems and things of that nature. Okay. So now you
Yeah.
mentioned about working in Africa too. What led you to Africa? What experiences you have with businesses in Africa?
First of all, I started from making unicorn pitch. In our network VC, venture capital fund,
Hmm.
it's some unusual fund because we're very much involved in unicorn pitches over the world. So there is specific platform where any partner can design and implement unicorn, so-called three type of pitches: unicorn pitch, unicorn battle, and unicorn camp.
Welcome to the UMG Podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Sheldon. As always, we have a beautiful show for you today. Now, if you're new to this channel, we ask you to please like and subscribe in the link below. So, without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the UMG Podcast. Today we have a very special guest in the studio with us. He's the executive chair at Oxitone Medical. He's also a venture partner with NVC and a senator for the WBAF, and that's the World Business Angel Investment Forum. He's a member of the Ford Business Council. He's also a board member of the Global Africa Leadership Council. He's a fellow member of the Royal Society of Medicine, and that's in the UK. And he's a business mentor for the Israel Export Institute, and also a very good friend of mine and a member too of the UMG podcast family. So without further ado, please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Leon Eisen.
Thank you, Jerome. I am really happy to be here. Thanks you for invitation. And so let's talk about very important stuff in our life, business, and work.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Leon. Thank you for being here. I know we spoke a couple of times, but it's nice to have you on the show and to be able to share your experiences and, of course, your vision as well too. So I know that currently, right now, you are in Israel, but
Yes,
where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Soviet Union, which I left about 30 years ago and never got back there.
Okay.
So I'm living in Israel, and sometime I was living in the United States. Then I get back to Israel, so we have some business in the United States. So, and now I'm doing a lot of business in Africa and in Balkans, and so I'm here in Israel today.
Okay. Glad to have you here with us. Now, what time is it right now in Israel?
Oh, tough question. It's 16:14.
Okay. So on my part, on my end, because I'm here in the States, it's about 9:14
Yeah,
a.m.
right.
Yes, in the morning. Okay. So how has it been for you in Israel?
I'm okay here. It's called Aliyah here when you come to Israel from other country. So I
Mhm.
immediately joined Weizmann Institute of Science like a PhD student, first candidate PhD, then PhD, where I spent about 5 years on developing very unique technologies all around diffraction, optical elements, optics. Actually, we built the first optical goggles, virtual reality goggles, even
Mm.
many years before Google get into this business. And also then I tried to continue like a scientist. I like science very much, and I had a postdoctoral research in quantum computers and laser cooling. So we created maybe the coolest place in our universe, and all of this in our laboratory. So it was amazing experience, amazing journey, which I had to leave because I was invited to the company which was based on my uh, PhD thesis.
Mm.
It was very interesting to see how my development, how my theory and practice could be implemented in the real business, in what we can do from these. So I was invited to manage development and laboratory there,
Mhm.
and this is when actually some breakthrough happened because, as you know, all key objectives in for scientists
Mhm.
is to write paper. As much paper many papers you write, as better you are scientist. This is what how they were taught about it. So this is our goal
Right.
to make research, to write paper around it, and actually we didn't care about the real implementation.
Mm.
And when I entered like engineer, I was never working like engineer before. I was very surprised about some new things, new notions. So like
Mhm.
tolerances, like accuracy, like performance, and this is what driven me crazy in the beginning. So I had to I had to break my mind to become engineer. But it
Right.
really helped because in a year I left the company and and became optical designer freelancer. And this is what I liked. So I was working with many people, many companies, amazing companies, specifically in medical device area,
Right.
and maybe totally new and world first devices were developed using my technology and my engineering skills.
Hmm.
And I spent about 3 4 years in freelancing job, and then I was invited to manage development of the medical device from the beginning, from the scratch to the market. And we
Hmm.
did it for the year. It was something new for me because before I just was involved in developing of some sensors and some part of devices. And now that something amazing happens, I just got the project which I can just realize from the beginning.
Mm.
And I could manage this project and apply all the skills I developed through my life. So we did it. We got the project to the market, and I would say, get to the new level of understanding of the startup business, of development, of engineering, because the first word engineer says when asked to do something unusual. The first word is it's impossible.
Impossible.
It's impossible. This is the first word engineer says usually.
Right.
And when you become a CTO, I became chief technology officer, and I had to ask people to do this. And by myself, I think, yeah, maybe that's impossible from
Right.
technological point of view, but we
Hmm.
have to do this. Otherwise, we will lose money, we will lose creditability of our investors. That's impossible not to make it in this case.
Right.
So I had to again to break my head and my teeth and and become become manager. I would say manager and then leader. So there is a big difference.
Right.
And then I decided. So I just got understanding I can do everything. So we succeeded.
Mm.
And I decided to create my own company. And it was in the middle of the crisis, 2008, 2009. And
The
people
financial
laughed at me.
crisis.
Yeah, and people laughed on me and said, "No, you were not able to raise money."
Right.
And what I was going to do, nobody did before. We had to build. I had an idea how to build the world's first wearable medical device, actually, that measure blood oxygen saturation and other vital signs.
Hmm.
And so people said that's impossible to raise money at this economical situation. By the way, like people say today as well. And yeah, and I had the newborn child on my hands,
Mm.
and uh, and I burned my boss. Actually, I left all their freelancing job, left all my clients, and I decided to spend time only on this, only on developing this project.
Hmm.
So yeah, and in a year I raised money. I raised about $1 million, and how we did started. And in 2017, our product was granted the world first
Mm.
FDA cleared pulse oximetry monitor at risk. Today,
Right.
you can find our product like a predicate for other such devices for FDA clearance, but it was exactly the world first.
Mm.
Even wellness devices didn't have such feature. Today we have Apple and others. Before they didn't have,
Right.
and so it was quite tough to get it because it was something new. But actually, we got to the market and we started to grow. And in 2020,
Hmm.
after 10 years, after 11 years after establishing my company, I left position like a chief executive officer, and I became executive chairman. So I let myself to get free for even for other project as well.
Mhm.
And I decided I call it to get to the dark side of the business. I decided to become investor.
Mm.
And yeah, because I learned a lot how to raise money. I was in this side of the business. Now, because I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about I got a lot of feedback from
Right.
investors. I understood that really maybe it's worth to try this side as well.
Right.
And what I understood that actually company is not ready to raise money. So readiness to raise money is very low.
Mm.
And people come, they didn't hire a mentor, they didn't come to accelerator, and they try to compete on raising capital with very much advanced people. And we have to help these people because they don't know how to do it, and they don't want to know. They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So I decided by myself to help startups to get readiness to
Mm.
raise money and maybe to the exit.
Right.
So I entered into not only startups, by the way. I was invited by Israeli Expert Institute. I think it's the most connected economical mission worldwide.
Mm.
It's built behind all Israeli economical missions worldwide. So it's a very good connected organizations.
Mhm.
And I offered my skills like the mentor,
Okay.
specifically for startups and maybe growth companies. And in the first year, just four companies came to me, usually one, maximum two. Four companies came to me, and I started to help them to grow, to polish their pitch, to understand logistics, to build the business. Because I didn't talk about only brand development or product development, because I spent 10 years like CEO, and before I was CTO, and before I was an engineer, and before I was a scientist. I
Right.
went through all stages of personal development.
Mm.
And so I could apply these skills, this understanding of all levels, different levels of ecosystem of any company, inner ecosystem and outer ecosystem, because any company just build and make business within bigger ecosystem, right? And bigger within bigger, so it's all, you know, uh, and altogether. And I understood that immediately. Just
Mhm.
taking a brief look at the company, I could understand exactly position of the company, psychology of mentality of founders and management, uh, and feasibility of the product. So immediately, I don't know how it happens, but I see the company and immediately understand where the problem and how to solve the problem. By the
Right.
way, there is a joke. People ask me why you're interested in working like a mentor, and I said because I like to see some problems with others. I don't like to see problems with me. I like to see problems with others. So I know now I found how to monetize.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's interesting. Uh,
Okay. So we figure here
yeah.
that you have a lot of roles. Well, go ahead. We're going to pick those different roles and stuff and the experiences that you have over the years. I'm going to try to see if we can pick some of those, in this, in the interview, in this conversation, because as I mentioned to you, our audience are those who um, perhaps starting their own journey, maybe trying to start a company or business, and they may come in contact with some issues and problems and things of that
Mhm.
nature. And of course, you're someone who had extensive interaction too, with businesses on the African continent. So that's another area I'm going to pivot into there.
Mhm.
But before I ask that, now science. How did that passion come in for science with you?
Uh, First of all, I was born in scientific family. So my father was professor, and so it was somehow easy to me to understand from the beginning, from
Mhm.
my childhood, but I am going to be professor as well. My
Okay.
father professor, my brother professor. Unfortunately, they are on law, not in
Mm,
physics. I'm PhD
mm.
in physics, but okay, it doesn't matter that time. It
Okay.
wasn't matter that time. So yeah, so I decided to become physicist. I was dreaming to build lasers from my childhood,
Mm,
and I thought that physics and science, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I like. And it happened until I finished my PhD in postdoctoral research.
okay.
And because all the times I felt, I was feeling that in science something left.
Mm,
And after finishing postdoctoral research, I understood what is left. Left real implementation of your science. Also, people ask that why professor has so low salary, because
mm.
everything what professor does will be implemented in 50 years. So you can just chop your salary in 50 years and you have professor salary. So this is so this is what happened. And I understood that I really want to build something. I
Okay.
want to implement my skills. And I didn't see beyond become engineer in the beginning because I thought I have to go through all stages, all stages. I thought to become entrepreneur maybe in the second year when I was working like freelancer engineer,
Mm-hmm.
because like freelancer engineer all the time you sell yourself, you sell your skills,
Mm-hmm.
and this happens in only non-scalable way. You cannot scale up. And I thought maybe I can sell my company. Why do I have to sell myself? I can sell everything what I have, my company, myself, and my partners to investors.
Right.
Why do I have to sell only myself? So this value is much bigger. So I can multiply my value if I do it like a company, like a startup, not like just to sell my skills. So this way, I just left the science and get into the engineering business to build something. And this is amazing when you build something and you see how things grow, how things start working, how they
Mm.
help people worldwide to improve. So you can improve life of people worldwide.
Right.
Not on
Absolutely.
not only scientific paper. It's not enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So I guess the point there too now, having that passion, going to a business, it's always nice to go to business doing something that you, in most cases, love to do, that you have that passion so that you can be,
uh,
because there are going to be, challenges along the way, but it is that passion, that drive that you have for what you're trying to do, that causes you to keep on going. So now let's pivot now to Oxitone. That's the company that you're talking about that you started.
yeah.
Now, was it a
It's my
challenge for
first
you getting,
company.
huh?
It's my first company, right?
Right. Now, was it a challenge for you in starting that?
Yeah, sure. Because it was in the middle of crisis and it was very difficult to
That's
raise
right.
money, almost impossible.
Yeah.
And I had, as I said, I had a child on my hand, just birth, and work, and it was quite difficult. And I didn't have any money, any salary, and I just was on the brink of bankruptcy before I raised this $1 million. But I decided to go to the end because I think crisis is the best time where you can start your business.
Mm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
people, it's something unusual, and if you do something unusual, and it's most important, this is the flow of water. So if there is some flow, if there is some difference in pressure, there is a flow, right?
Right. Right.
And if there is a flow, you can make business exactly in dynamics. It's very difficult to do business in statics, but the best way to do business in dynamics. And if you understand uncertainty, if you can, not everybody can, if you can accept, embrace uncertainty, and by the way, this is what underline underlines my quantum business thinking methodology, which I built and help startups. They use this methodology to grow very quickly, to make a quantum leap. I call it quantum business thinking. So, but I start with embracing uncertainty, like in quantum physics, and my skills is in quantum physics,
Right.
and I understand uncertainty. I understood that chaos. This is the best thing for the business, because what businessman is doing usually, he take the chaos and make order from the chaos.
Okay.
And this is so economic crisis is the best time to do it, and this is what I actually explored.
Yeah. I was one told that the best businesses are the one that solve problems. So as you mentioned that, during the crisis, obviously there is a problem. So now there's a lot of opportunity for business in crisis because you are trying to find something to be able to solve problems and things of that nature. Okay. So now you
Yeah.
mentioned about working in Africa too. What led you to Africa? What experiences you have with businesses in Africa?
First of all, I started from making unicorn pitch. In our network VC, venture capital fund,
Hmm.
it's some unusual fund because we're very much involved in unicorn pitches over the world. So there is specific platform where any partner can design and implement unicorn, so-called three type of pitches: unicorn pitch, unicorn battle, and unicorn camp.
Right.
And it's a free level. So you can make unicorn pitch, for example, in some specific industry or in some specific area and continent. So you can gather 9, 10 good startups. You can choose, they apply, and then you bring 20, 25 investors, and
Hmm.
startups start to pitch these investors. So for the day, and then the winner get to the next level. It's called unicorn battle, and then next level as well. And
Hmm.
usually winners get investments from network VC.
Right.
So I did a Pan African unicorn pitch in e-commerce and fintech, and amazing company from Morocco won this in e-commerce. They
Hmm.
and fintech together. They are in fintech even mostly,
Right.
and it was a very interesting experience. And I was also, but before I was invited by one of my friends in the United States to join. He created this council,
Hmm.
leadership council, and he invited me to join the board. And I think, and also I wrote, I'm contributor of business council in Forbes,
Right.
and I wrote a paper about raise Africa like a technological
Hmm.
hub. And so I see a huge future in Africa, and that it happens. I am very close to Africa,
Yeah.
and also in our WBF, a lot of African countries presented. So
Right.
somehow all planets get aligned, and this is what I like today. I'm going to make much more effort to participate in African business development,
Hmm.
and I have some startups I'm talking today about maybe investment or help these startups, amazing startups, and we'll see how it works.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent.
I
Now,
see a huge potential. I see a huge potential in Africa, and it's
hmm
very important to understand how to realize it. Again, I think everything like a business, yeah, and business
right.
happen if you create some difference in pressure. So
Right.
if you create low pressure in Africa, business will come there, will flow there, and this is what we have to find how to do.
Yeah. So what sector in Africa in terms of business interests you the most? Because I know you're in the healthcare.
Yeah, here I'm taking just a popular view.
Okay.
Uh, I I am following popular view. It's a fintech and e-commerce.
Okay.
Healthcare, I know healthcare very well because this is my industry. But in
Mm-hmm.
Africa, there is some problem with healthcare companies, so it's very difficult to develop. I have a lot of friends in healthcare business there, but
Mm-hmm.
I think in any case, we have to bring our LPs money and return of investment. It's worth to invest to something that really works.
Right. Now, you mentioned that it's very difficult in the healthcare. Would you contribute that perhaps to technology? Not having that I mean, not having much of access to technology on the continent that perhaps may cause it challenging to be able to do a healthcare business there.
Yeah, it's very important. But currently, most of the business around software, not hardware. But software technology also works very well. I
Right.
think to realize the potential, Africa should build a financial system first, very good financial system. That's why a lot of financial startups are growing there, financial and e-commerce system. And then you can think about other type of technologies because, for example, if you make any healthcare or medical equipment, you have some logistics, how to sell it, how to deliver it, and
Right.
if there is no logistics around, it's not built, you
Mm.
cannot do it just. Or it's very expensive to do,
Right.
or you just cannot sell it. So it's very important to build the arterial before you push the blood for this arterial.
Yeah. So perhaps to be able to have the infrastructure there for it first.
Yes,
For
exactly.
example, like even with I mean, with like, for example, the IoTs, these are things that you need internet, connectivity to be able to have the different devices communicate with each other. But internet is a huge problem. In Africa, you have a large sector of Africa, especially in the rural area, that don't have access to those technology to be able to use these
Yeah,
tools
that's a problem.
effectively.
That's a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Why you think so?
What I think.
Why you think that's a problem? Why you think that is a problem?
There is a problem because it is needed intention. To do something, it's most important to have intention. If
Hmm.
you don't have intention, you cannot do anything. In my quantum business thinking methodology,
Hmm.
intention, or so called, is a part of the so called conscious agent that in the middle of this methodology. So,
Hmm.
how to change your mindset to create intention and follow your intentions. And this is what really, I think, countries, continents, I don't know, companies itself. So in any levels,
Right.
there is a if there is no intention, there is no development.
Mm.
So everything starts from intention, and everything starts from the right culture. If
Yeah.
you don't have this, it's very difficult to move forward. But to develop this, it requires mentorship, advisory, help, and this is what we're doing.
Hmm.
We're going to change people's mindset to make them aware about things. Because I am in a panel and a board, scientific board of Consciousness University, Switzerland,
Okay.
and we teach students about how to build their mindset and how to become aware, how to develop neuroplasticity that helps to build new neurons. It's
Hmm.
like a gym, but for muscles, or to build brain muscles.
Hmm.
And it's very important. And usually, our conscious mind is
Hmm.
about bandwidth is about 40 beats per second. Unconscious mind, all habits, everything what you do automatically and thinking automatically, it's about 40 million beats per second. So
Mm.
million times faster and more powerful. And how to make these 40 beats? and change this percentage, and how to use it better, this photo
Right.
beads. And we talk about awareness. So because today 85% of people don't know what they don't know. So if you deliver education, if you deliver knowledge, if you tell people how our world is built, this
Right.
all just help to build intention people to change this world and to make this world much better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know you have a lot of expertise with startups. Um, what would you say would probably be a three principle for startups to help startups remain successful?
Three principles. I said about one. It's a culture. I
Okay.
think people when they start the startup, they
Hmm.
have to agree on the culture.
Mm.
What kind of culture they're going to build? Because
Okay.
if they don't build right culture, it will just fight back in a very tough way. So the culture is first. Second, it should be built on intention. So it
Okay.
should be clear understanding what they're going to do
Hmm.
and where going to be in 2 years. This is exactly what my method helps to do, helps to understand the position of the company and personal position in 2 years, 3 years, and when move back. Why it's very important. A very simple example. If you if you decided to go to the theater today evening, you
Hmm.
go online and you find that there is no ticket or only one ticket somewhere very far from the sea.
Hmm.
And why it happened? Because all people had intention to buy this ticket way long before you. You cannot change. You don't have free will for tomorrow.
Right.
Everything is occupied already by other, in quantum mechanics we call observers.
Okay.
They collapse it tomorrow into very certain way. It happens already. But if you're talking about in a half of year, in a year, you can choose any ticket, right? So you
Hmm.
have your free will. You can realize your free will. And this is the startups as well. If you're thinking day to day about tomorrow only, you don't see what will happen in 2 days, in a week, and in a month.
Hmm.
Uh, you are in a very red ocean
Mm.
because people influence on your decision everywhere. You got in the conventional limitation, and we are all limited in social, in financial, in legal. We're all limited in
Yeah.
ecosystem, in nature. We're all limited. So
Yeah.
how to break out this stuff? Just to think about in a year and 2 years. So if I bought the ticket in half of year, in a year ahead, I
Hmm.
put this ticket in my pocket, and I know exactly what will happen exactly this day, this time. And not only me, all my family is ready to this. All my friends know exactly where we are. So I influence all my ecosystem around by buying this ticket in 1 year ahead. Same with startup. If you know exactly where you're going to be in 2 years, there is a huge chance you will be there. But
Mm.
even more, you can calculate back. I called it backward mapping. This is a part of my methodology where every quarter backward we calculate what kind of opportunity we can predict there,
Hmm.
what kind of deals we can make to support resources. I mean, what kind of resources we need, what kind of effect, I call it effect, or actually feasibility, what kind of product, level of product should be. And the fourth quadrant is most important, people, the team. This is the third thing I am going to add into the answer to your question.
Right.
For startup, team is very important. And so I consider pitch deck like psychological stuff.
Hmm.
It's not something about the company. It's about psychology of the founders. We
Mm,
give money not for the product, not for the company. We give money for people to bring this to life.
right.
And pitch deck just reflects psychology of founders who wrote this pitch deck and put their understanding on their business. In the 99%, there is
Mm,
no understanding there at all.
mm,
That's why mentor come to the scene, advisor, accelerator, just to help these people to realize their potential. It should be definitely be potential, but to realize this potential, we're here to help.
yeah, yeah. And I remember that you mentioned about having the limitation. We all have limitation in every aspect of our life. So that's why, to some extent, partnership plays a part in there. So from your standpoint, how does well, in this case we say Oxitone, medical, how do they partner? How do they work in terms of partnership, perhaps helping startups?
Wow, you touch very important point. Thank you. Partnership is very important from different, I would say, point of views, perspectives, and we'll talk about Oxytocin as well. Partnership. What's the most important for the people for the startup in 2 years to be where they're going to be? When I ask entrepreneurs, where are you going to be? What are you going to be? Who you are going to be in 2 years with your company? And usually they start to talk about revenue, 10 millions, 60 people, something like this. But usually in 100% of time, they forget about trust.
Mm,
And trust is the most important. But
mm,
how can you build the trust if you're just growing? It
right,
takes a lot of time. Trust, reputation, all constitute the brand.
right,
And brand development is very long story. So one of the things in my methodology is how to attract part of the trust and part of their reputation from reputable companies. If you make agreement with Philips and Philips has a reputation, you just take the part of this reputation on yourself. And by the way, this is what Oxitone, not with Philips, but Oxitone very much involved in some partnership with other companies as well.
right.
And this helps to increase trust, to increase reputation. And this is what all the company should do.
Yeah, yeah. It's like what you said, you mentioned about brand, building that brand, building that reputation. That's one of the reasons why to that I even started the umbrella management group in Liberia, because again, you have businesses that are there that the credibility is not there. People don't trust you, and so it become a challenge. And so we have this platform where we establish there to be able to help these ones within the span of 6 months to a year, helping them to build that brand. It's just as common as having a website. you know um, Business etiquette, how you interact with your customers, you know staying professional. These are things that people see, like you said, they build the trust in you, and then they come to you. you know so um now let's pivot a little bit more towards I just want to talk a little bit on Oxytone Medical. I noticed that you have devices that you I guess you monitor. uh if you could tell a little bit more about Oxytone, what it does in terms of business.
Actually, this is a device, monitor or wrist device. Today, it's not a big deal because everybody today makes such devices. Before, it was the world first FDA cleared medical device. But actually, it's a medical device like you can find in the hospital, and just it's very small. It's on the wrist, and for mostly somewhere beyond just spot check, so people can wear it for a prolonged time and
Mm,
collect data, and that's important. Instead of like today, we have with other devices, we have some fragmented information for the day. With our device, you can have the full information about the patient. We
mhm.
are specifically working with elderly patients, nursing homes, because this is where they need some type of prolonged monitoring.
Mm,
Because it should be high risk patients. Because low risk patients, something like somebody like me or you, we don't need 24/7 monitoring, right? It's
right.
just overwhelming. But for chronic disease patients with high risk, we pay for patients with sleep apnea, for example. They need prolonged monitoring. And we were the first in the world, first of the world in the market with such capabilities.
Right.
And also we have the platform for sleep apnea monitoring and all reports and all these ecosystem around the device. But device generates the data, blood
Yeah.
oxygen, saturation, pulse rate, respiration rate, temperatures, uh, all other stuff. We add all the time. We add the new vital signs. But this is what Oxitone is doing.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that question too, because I mean, you actually a trailblazer. I mean, a trailblazer in that, establishing that a long time ago, with the monitoring. And this is something that is actually needed for the most part to, in Africa. People don't have access to, health facilities. And, like you said, that rapid response, because it helps the physician to respond rapidly. It also helps the patient to give that information over, to the physician to be able to, uh, you know, work on them or, things like that. Now, what if someone trying to partner with you and trying to do something like that to establish that in Africa? What advice would you give them?
First of all, you need to have infrastructure for response. Okay, you have the data. You physician receive the data. Some deterioration happens. Do you have infrastructure for the response?
Hmm.
This is the main question, right?
Mm,
Because what we do, we just do monitoring. We do not do therapeutic tools. We do not do health. We do not do anything. It's just information. And if any information requires some infrastructure to deal with this information. And it's not so much developed there yet.
yeah. Okay. All right. Well, Leon, we come down to the section now, the part where we call the 5 for 5. And of course, this
Yeah.
is what we ask you 5 questions, and of course, that's wait for you to be able to respond.
Oh, very
Uh,
exciting. Yeah.
yeah, rapidly. Now, no pressure, man. No pressure on you on this. Okay.
Thank
So
you.
we'll go ahead and get that started. Okay. So 5 for 5. First question I have for you is your favorite food.
Sorry, I didn't hear it well.
Your favorite food. Your favorite food that you eat.
Eggs.
What's that?
Eggs.
Eggs?
Eggs.
Oh, really?
Eggs.
Now, is
Yeah.
it fry or boil?
Pro.
Okay. All right.
Every day, every morning, I eat this.
Oh, wow.
I'm very conservative.
Okay. So, so I'm sure when these whenever a chicken see you coming, they take off running, huh?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next question, your favorite movie.
Matrix.
Oh, why's that?
Because in Matrix, Neo went or goes through all 5 levels of personal development, starting from infantile person and finishing by integral person.
Hmm.
We can
Interesting.
talk next time about this stuff. It's a
Okay.
very deep science
Okay.
about people's archetypes. Yeah.
Okay. I'll take you up on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So my next one is the best advice that was given to you.
Best advice:
Hmm.
uh, go to study law, not physics, and I
Hmm.
didn't do it. Didn't accept this
You did
advice.
accept
Yeah,
it.
because I was told I'm mostly humanitarian than physics,
Right.
mathematics, and it really understood later that
Okay.
it's true. So
Yeah.
it was very difficult to me, and so yeah, it was the best advice which wasn't realized
Okay. Well,
or
hopefully
accepted.
you, yeah, hopefully we realize it one day. Okay.
It's,
Nah, too late.
next life, next
Next life.
life.
Okay. All right. All right. So the next one here is your favorite vacation location.
Oh, it's a very interesting question. I think Marmara is Turkey,
Hmm. Okay.
the best. I like it
The
very
best.
much. So all positive things together.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. And last but not least, your last word of advice to our UMG family that listening to the program.
My advice to keep the culture as it is and even build it. To pay attention mostly on the culture. And I think you have amazing culture. This is what I recognize.
Mhm.
And my advice to I don't know to keep this culture and continue to develop.
Yes. Yeah. Well said. Well
If there
said.
is a
Thank.
culture, good culture, just
Mhm.
you will have the good business, you will have the good people around you, you will have everything what you want, everything start from your culture.
Yes. Building that community, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
thank you so much, that Leon, for taking the time off, to be with us today. And of course, I want to say we wish you the best in your journey, what you are doing. Some excellent work there with Oxitone medical, especially on the continent of Africa. Really appreciate that. So thank you so much, for being on the program.
Thank you, Jerome. I really appreciate to be here. Thank you for letting me to talk to your audience.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you.
So, to our audience, thank you for joining us on this episode of the podcast. We hope that you were able to take a little, perhaps bits and pieces from the conversation that you can be able to add into your journey as well. So, as always, we say jump, but don't jump too high because you have class. We'll see you at the next episode.